What's going on, hockey fans? Another week, another month, and another opportunity at the Power Rankings coming at you, the National Collegiate Development Conference, the NCDC Power Rankings are here, and we are ranking the top 10 teams from NCDC Nation. This was a tough one this month. I'll tell you what, you want to talk about the word parity and spelling it right, P-A-R-I-T-Y. For those of you who don't know, this isn't a joke. We're not doing a parody. We're not going P-A-R-O-D-Y. And this also isn't the bird. It's not a parody. We're not being parody like squawk. We're not doing that. Not P-A-R-R-O-T-Y. Parity, baby. Everybody's beating everybody right now around the NCDC. And the only man smart enough to dig into the numbers, to dive into the information, to figure out how to rank the top 10 teams in the NCDC. It's my right-hand man, my consigliere, mon frere from another mayor, Lucas Jones. Welcome into the show, baby. How we doing?
Doing great. It was fun getting to kind of run through these NCDC power rankings, coming out slightly a week later. You know, some months they're going to sync up with USPHL power rankings. Sometimes they're not. But this month gave us, a little bit extra time to take a look at some of these teams. And Dan, that extra week actually, I think, had some bearing on this list.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this division right now, this league of the NCDC, Lucas, and it's just everybody beating everybody. You look at the Atlantic Division, the New England Division, you talk about the Mountain, like outside of South Shore, PAL, IHC, there's nobody clear-cut just pulling away from any of these groups. In the Atlantic Division, you only have one team with a plus goal differential. They're all beating up on each other, right? And it's evened out all season long. Like, Wilkes-Barre's in second with 17 points in 15 games played. Jersey's in last place in that Atlantic Division with 11 points in 16 games played. 3-game swing here or there completely turns on its head. The Mountain Division, right now between first place and fifth place, is 9 points. That's it, right? With games in hand, New England, same problem. The top is the top. We talked about South Shore and IHC. Utica, Junior Bruins, Twin City, even Northern, a team off to a slow start this year, young squad. Coach Flanagan even made a joke before one of his games. He goes, "Look, if we win, instead of giving one of my guys the start a game hat, give him like a pacifier or something, because these guys are young, all right? They'll learn in the game. So we're going to be real happy every time they give us a good showing." Lucas, it's all over the place right now.
Yeah, it really is, and where that kind of, as Dan kind of mentioned, there's definitely a couple teams that are at the top unequivocally, right? But once you start getting into the rest of the league, you start looking for little things, right? Little bits of momentum, little kind of stats that maybe could put another team over another team. But until some of these teams in the 5 through the rest of the league spot really start to carve out a showing for themselves, it'll be tough. What that does mean, Dan, on the flip side is there's an opportunity here for the majority of this NCDC to really make a name for themselves in the middle of this season.
And Lucas, for the folks at home who don't, we get a lot of questions each month, each week, each year about how these power rankings come together. And it's to kind of dive in, Lucas and I will look at strength of schedule. We'll look at home and away. We'll look at your performance at showcases. We look at head-to-head, right? That's your number one tiebreaker. If you're 3-0 against a team, you're going to get ranked ahead of them. You're beating them, right, when you're putting it out in the ice. But also, Lucas and I separately put together our top, in this case, we put together a top 18. It becomes a top 10, right? We rank all 18 teams, though, blindly. For the first time this go-around, Lucas, we unveiled what we both had, and it was tied across the board. We did not have there's no differentiation. What's the word? Differentiation? Would that be the word right there? I don't know. There's no saturation.
No saturation, but in the words of the movie My Cousin Vinny, Dan, identical, which is a reference that literally none of the players in the NCDC understand.
We reference My Cousin Vinny more than any other movie, and I don't know why that's the movie.
Because it's a great movie.
It's a great movie, man. It's that Alabama mud. I don't think you've ever seen mud like this before.
Gets in the ties.
Counselor, what are you wearing? You told me to wear a suit. So I had to go get this monstrosity because the suit store is not open today. Okay, let's get into hockey, Lucas, okay? We start at number 10, and there's a toss-up here, right? You have a lot of teams you could put in this spot. But there is a team that has won 3 straight, and they've done it against the toughest of environments right now, Lucas. And what a job getting a weekend sweep after the tragedy that happened in the Twin Cities, in Lewiston and Auburn, Maine. A group that we think of as a family up there. Dan Hodge, I mean, one of the guys that we're closest to in all of hockey in terms of just friendship. Getting a chance to talk to them this past week and kind of hear what they're going through. The Twin City Thunder at number 10, Lucas, and they just beat a South Shore Kings team that we think is one of the best in the world.
Well, when we kind of introed it perfectly, I think here, Dan, almost like we were setting ourselves up because we knew what we were going to talk about, right? When you talk about the 5 through 10 of the power rankings, you have to find the teams that separate themselves. The Twin City Thunder did that in 2 ways. 3-game win streak, right? The recency bias. What have you done for me in the last 3 games? You've won 3 games. But you also have a win against top-ranked South Shore Kings. That is a huge boost to a team, especially in this environment, once again, where it's all so close.
Yeah, and you look at Leo Mantenuto. This is a defenseman that I love, that I think is in the right place playing for a Dan Hodge. 6 points on the year for him, all assisters. 1 on the power plays, a year 2006 birth year. James Tatro. It's a guy in his H-out year, 5-5, leading the way in points. Nolan Leonard's a strong player. This team is built in a Dan Hodge style, right? When he gets a squad together that are his guys, you see how much success they have in the Twin Cities playing his system. And it's a team that's going to move the puck from the blue line. Defensemen that are no nonsense. They're going to get the job done. They're going to get the puck free when they need to. They're going to block shots. And in net, they're doing just enough right now. Stephen Carney, a .931 saves percentage, seeing a lot of shots. Jeffrey Kreidler, a .907. You can see a little bit more out of these Twin City netminders. When they've lost pretty big, right? That's their big problem right now. The losses are big losses. The wins are close games. But the biggest thing you notice is when they play those close games, they win the majority of the one and 2 goal deciders, right, Lucas?
Right, and it's that kind of resiliency, right, that you're looking for. And these are the kinds of things that go into power rankings, right? So this was a perfect way to start things off, but also a little bit of insight, right? Is you look at these teams, you look at the kinds of games that they win. They win because they're resilient. They win because they stand tough. And they're rocking off a 3-game win streak right now, which you love to see.
Next up, we go to a team who's on a 1-game win streak. I don't know if you call that a streak. I think you just call it a victory. But it's the Utah Outliers, a team used to being atop this Mountain Division. They make the move to the Tier 2 NCDC. Sitting in 4th place right now, 7-6-0-1, a -4 goal differential, but 45 goals for, so they can score it. Talk to me a little bit about Utah. What brings them to number 9?
Well, they kind of have a bit of almost like a Yahtzee shaker of wins and losses right now, right? You've got wins and there's a little shaker for Dan K, not filled with Yahtzee dice, hopefully. But you've got wins against Ogden. You have a win against Ogden, but then 3 losses against Ogden, right? You take 2 of 3 from the Spud Kings, which is a positive. Then you look at wins against Pueblo. You look at wins against Provo, but then another loss against Pueblo. So kind of a split decision here for Utah. But I think the fact that they're playing tight games with a tight goal differential, they have a good offense that can score the puck when necessary. Sometimes a similar problem here with Twin City, Dan. Sometimes their losses get a bit out of hand. But other than that, I think this is a very, very confident team.
Yeah, and you're going to see that a lot in this league this year, Lucas. There's just so many good teams on the ice in the NCDC, and there's not a lot of discrepancy between them. A lot of teams drafted well this past year and the year before. A lot of teams have really put a lot into this roster this year, and I think the Mountain, the Atlantic, and New England is going to be a toss-up all year long. David Ukin, leading point getter for this Utah side with 19 points. Chaparnov with 12 points, 8 goals, 4 assists. Garrett Joss, Grant Burback, Grant Parshall, the former Tampa Bay junior, who, he makes the move over here, plays 9 games so far this year, 4 points. And that's kind of that pipeline of the Stroats working along with Kevin McCloskey and Paul Taylor and some guys that they really respect up there in Utah. It's great to see the handoffs between some of these teams. The biggest answer to a Dan K kind of prompt, Lucas, in the past month. I asked this Utah netminding core last month during the power rankings, who's going to step up? Both netminders were struggling a bit. Look at Griffin Davis soaring in the month here. 5-0-0-1 on the season. He's only lost a game in a shootout. He's got a 2.81 goals against average. That's way down from last month's tally. And a 9.18 saves percentage, way up. He was in the 8s last month. He's moved all the way up to a 9.18. Means he's stopping a lot of shots and he's doing them in big games. He's got a shootout win under his belt. He's seen a ton of shootout shots already this year. He's got 213 saves, answering the bell. Utah at number 9. We go to number 8. To the Atlantic Division, the first team from that division to be ranked here, sitting at second place in the standings, number 8 overall, the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Knights. The Wilkes-Wagon, Lucas, looking pretty good on the early going.
They are, and this is another team that has that kind of close goal differential of -3, but 50 goals scored on the season, so they're able to score at will when they're, when the game is kind of moving in their direction. Some solid wins under their belt as well. Twin City Thunder, South Shore Kings in a shootout win, 2 wins against the Rockets, Connecticut Junior Rangers, and Mercer. Those were kind of some split series there with 1 loss against each. I think right now, Dan, where Wilkes-Barre sits is very much on the launching pad a little bit, right? They could very easily see themselves climb a couple of spots next month with some high-profile wins. But the issue, again, comes when you play those tight games, when you have that -3 goal differential, right? That almost that single-digit in any direction goal differential. You could very easily drop a couple of tough ones and drop a few spots.
The big player on this squad right now, player of the month, William Jasmine. And it's not a whole new world having success on the ice for this 2003 birth year. 10 goals, 10 assists, 20 points. This guy's a dazzling goal scorer you've never seen. 4 power play goals, 3 power play assists. He's got 2 shorthanded goals, 1 shorthanded assist. He's killing penalties. He's scoring on the power play. He's got 2 game winners on the year. He's 1 for 2 in shootouts on the season as well, and he's only got 12 pins on the campaign in 15 games played. Guy stays out of the box, stays on the ice, skates a ton of minutes for this team, and is leading the way as he should. An absolute leader in this locker room. Justin Ryan, Sasha Trudell. You'll love the addition of Chance Uzel. The young man from the Northern Cyclones at the blue line makes a move over. You know, if they played in that Flanagan system, they're a no-nonsense defenseman. He comes over, he's got 11 points. They're letting him kind of open it up offensively a little bit. 7 power play assists for Uzel. And then you look at Tate Carmen, 7-1 in the season. The goals against average not really where he really wants it, but he's winning games, Lucas. So 3.25. If you're winning games by getting 4 goals from your squad each time out, good for you. 923 saves percentage is a great number to look at with 324 saves. Amaranto, the backup's got a 946. This team's pretty deep, and they're going to be dangerous all season long. We go to number 7. Watch out for the Stampede. The Pueblo Bulls are barreling home here at number 7. Lucas, talk about Pueblo.
Well, and with Pueblo, we get to a team that, has a +10 goal differential, 61 goals scored on the season. They are no stranger to shootouts, right? They are no stranger to these duels in the streets a little bit here. And for Pueblo, I think they play in a division, right? Obviously the Mountain Division, where there's a lot going on every single weekend. They're not playing these series against singular teams, right? They're mixing and matching. They're playing different opponents. They're driving all over the place. But I think what this shows this Pueblo team can do is they can lock it down when they have to. They have a win against Provo, even if they've lost those 3 games. You like to see the win there. 2 wins against the Spud Kings, a win against the Outliers. I just think right now for Pueblo, if they can lock down that defense a little bit more, they'll be climbing.
Lucas, there's 18 teams in the NCDC. Pueblo is one of only 7 of those teams with a plus goal differential in the season. It tells you how close these games are that are being played. And it tells you that there are also blowouts happening in games between even teams, right? Teams are losing games and kind of falling off for a night because you take a deep breath in the NCDC, you're going to get beat. Nikita Volsky and Ryan Mitchell, they're getting the call out this month that the Utah netminders got last month. Number 7 for Pueblo, you move up the rankings, you catapult through these rankings if you get a good month out of one or both of these netminders. They just need a little more from the net mouth, right? 163 saves for Volsky, 132 for Mitchell. You're looking at the 874, the 906 saves percentage. Not exactly where you want it at this point in the season, but that's mountain hockey, right? The Mountain Division, big bodies in front of the net, open ice when you get the opportunity, Olympic sheets around the country, decent amount of travel. You're going to have some tough nights as a netminder. Nate Farrell, Jack Hansen, Thomas Soucy, Hunter Hayes. I mean, Hunter Hayes playing the greatest hits, right? Like, you look at this young man, 7, 5, and 12, and he can put on an absolute Grammy Award-winning concert anytime you want with Hunter Hayes. Will Sinclair, Ethan Toombs, like Eddie Polisian. Polisian's a guy who's an absolute beauty, right? This is a guy who comes from the east side of the country, moves out there, making things happen with 4 and 7 on the year. You gotta love it. He was with Jersey, then he was with Twin City, now he's with Pueblo. He's got 42 career points in the the NCDC, and Paul Lysian continues to do his thing. This is a legit Pueblo team. Net minding. Net minding, net minding. They need to find the net minding. Stopping the puck is going to be key in the month of November against some tough squads around that division. Number 6, we go to the Utica Junior Comets. They will host the Elite and Premier National Championships of the Tier 3 level of the USPHL in Utica. Will Utica host a Dineen Cup final towards the end of the season, Lucas? Right now, they're playing well enough where it is an opportunity.
Yeah, they are one of those teams that has the positive goal differential. I like that they're over the 50 goals for mark. That's kind of the unofficial marker, I think, in my mind, at least here, Dan. But I also like that they have 2 wins against the Bruins, 1 win against IHC, 1 win against the South Shore Kings. Those are huge wins in my mind. And I know that there's a lot of talk about season series, right? Especially if you watch the Premier and Elite Power Rankings, you'll notice that we put a lot of stock in season series. Well, in the NCDC, it's a little bit different because you've got so much up and down action. You've got so much back and forth in a series that you really just have to look at what are teams capable of, right? What's the ceiling for some of these teams? And I think for Utica right now, you're seeing these huge flashes of brilliance. You're seeing these moments where they really put on a good show. And I think if they can consistently put those efforts out there, they're another team that could potentially move up.
Yeah, and a Monday afternoon loss to IHC, Lucas, that just typed its way onto your screen there. At 4-3 final, IHC gets a win from Utica, so they split a series on the road with the Islanders Hockey Club. This is a Utica team, though. It's an IHC team that we haven't said their name yet, and they're sitting in second place in New England Division. So it tells you how tough of a matchup that was, and that's a good win for them. You love Coach Ejikate. Like, this is a young guy who, we talk about how many great young coaches are in the NCDC right now in this framework. It's fun to watch. Fuji Suzuki leading the way with 20 points. This is a year 2005 birth year who's an absolute goal-scoring problem. 7 power play assists as well. His 12 assists, 7 of them coming on the power play. Robert Gatewood, 10 and 6 for 16. Louis Kamienski, he's got a 7 and 8 with 15. Marc LaFrance, au revoir to pucks. He gets power play assists. He's got assists. He's doing it all, 12 points. Nico Benjamins. It's all about the Benjamins right there. Seth Ferguson, Nick D'Amatos. You got to love this team. But you can't. This is a team, you look in net, they started hot, okay? Waylon Esch, Cameron Manley, hot out of the gates, right? These are 2 thoroughbreds racing through. Cooling off of late. That's the big question. Waylon Esch, 12 games played already between the pipes. He's stopped 335 shots. Not a terrible start to the year. He's got a shutout. He was on fire out of the gates. Unbeatable. So was Cameron Manley. Slowing down a little bit here. That's going to happen. It's junior hockey, right? As you kind of battle through the season and you battle through the wars, the days in and days out. It's a 2005 birth. You're playing at the Tier 2 tuition-free level. Waylon Esch is the real deal, though. Any scout watching, any coach watching, you watch Waylon Esch for 60 minutes, this kid is unbelievable. He's fun to watch. He's electric between the pipes, and he does what he needs to do day in and day out. Waylon Esch, keep an eye on this netminder. Number 5. This is 5 and 4. Going to get a little bit interesting here. You could have a debate with us. The Provo Predators at 5, Lucas. Then we'll say the number 4, the Ogden Mustangs. And Provo Predators fans are probably going, hey, 2-1. We're 2-1 against Ogden on a season. How are we 1 behind them? Here's the thing. 1 regulation loss for Provo. And then an OT win and a shootout win for Provo. These games have been close. Technically, if we're talking aggregate score, Provo's down by 1 goal, right? You lose that one 6-3 in regulation. It's a great battle, right? And you could go either way. This is kind of where it comes into people ask us how we do this. It's kind of the eye test, Lucas. Something within me tells me that Ogden is maybe a grain of sand better than Provo right now.
And I would probably agree with that. I mean, we had the same top 10, right? So as much as I love this Predators side, you don't devalue a shootout win or an overtime win, but you value a regulation win just a little bit more, I think. And then you default to what's on the stat sheet, right? And you have this Ogden team that is just 2 points ahead of Provo. You have an Ogden team that is a couple more goals for, a little bit better on the defensive side, a slightly better goal differential. But I think for Provo, I still like the physicality. I love the defense, the Provo Predators. I think that's going to be the difference maker for them. I think it's one of their biggest assets. It's why I love this team as high as they are. And I think for the Ogden Mustangs, I love them for the same reason. It really feels like these 2 teams are kind of not the same team, Dan, but they're similar in what their builds are. They're offensive powerhouses, they're defensive juggernauts, they're teams that can put a streak together, they're teams that have good records. I just love the way these two teams are playing hockey right now. But like you say, the eye test gives us Ogden slightly higher than Provo.
And now I'll play devil's advocate, right? You look at Provo. The difference between them and Ogden right now, 316 shots on their two incredible netminders in Provo, in Henry and Polston, against 443 shots on net for Brzgalov and Hollins, right? So that's 100 plus more shots making their way onto the Ogden net than you're seeing on the Provo net. Dan, what does that mean? Why should I care about that number? I mean, it's wear and tear on your netminder, number one, right? It also means that guys are getting pucks on the net. And that you could look at it in two ways. You could say, hey, maybe it's clear sight lines. The puck's getting stopped in Ogden. Brzgalov's got a 2.13 goals against and a 9.38 saves percentage with 226 stops. Cameron Holland's got a 2.5 and a 9.26 with 187 stops. They're seeing the puck. They're stopping the puck. Who cares, right? That's your one argument. The other side of it is you'd love to see your netminder see less shots, right? You've got that for Henry and Polston right now. They're seeing 316. They're stopping them as well. A 2.11 for Henry and 9.08 saves. For Polston in 7 starts, 2.3 and a 9.27 saves, with each of them with a shutout. These two teams, you could flip a coin and say who's number one. Technically, I look at it as 4A and 4B. They're 4 and 5 right now. Jackson Lucia, I love him on the blue line for this Provo side. Gavin Black, Luca Ori. I'm a big Ben Picard guy, 6 points on the year for him. I like Nicholas Noble as well. On the Ogden side, Peyton Struck continues to just be lightning in a bottle here. 20 points for him. Dimitri Voyatsis, who's got like the Brent Burns photo for anybody who's not checked it out yet. The Dimitri Voyatsis picture, absolute beauty. 5 and 14. Parker Osborne. Daniel Ellingson makes the move from the Squatch. He's got 11 points here. He's able to score at all levels of the game. Cooper Fink's a guy down the list a little bit more. Hember and Ethan Hall, both kind of leaders on the blue line. I like both of these teams. Let's go to number 3, Lucas. It starts to kind of clear itself out. You feel like it has to fall this way. IHC, the Islanders Hockey Club, at number 3.
Love what IHC's doing right now. Love the way they're playing the game of hockey. Talk about a team that is playing good defense. They're another one, right? You look at a team right now that's 10-2-3-0, 23 points, 52 goals, 436 goals again. So they're in that double-digit plus goal differential. Very strong wins for them as well. I just love to see that they're consistently beating teams all across the league. What differentiates, I think, the top 3 from the rest of the NCDC is their ability to pull off those consistent wins, right? You're seeing it with Ogden and Provo, so maybe we'll extend it to the top 5 here. But I think with this Islanders Hockey Club side, wins against Wilkes-Barre, the Hitmen, Rockets, Mercer, Twin City, the Cyclones. Their only losses, South Shore Kings, who we haven't heard yet, and Utica, who we talked at length about. So I think for IHC, they're playing great hockey, good net minding, and I think this is a team that right now has their eyes set on the top of that New England division.
Frank Murphy's a guy that I like. You want to talk about player like a person you want to be stuck in a foxhole with, right? Like Frank Murphy's a guy who's confident. He's getting you out of that situation, right? He's going to figure his way out. Tough night, seeing a lot of shots, he'll get it done. Kind of a little slower night, he still makes the plays. He keeps his head in the game. This guy never takes the game off. This guy never takes a break. Frank Murphy's someone I've been shouting from the mountaintop about for years now, and I'll continue to do so. I think he's the best netminder in the league right now. Ashikman, he's 10 and 11 for 21. Max Lundgren, man, 20 points on the year, and even 10 and 10. You love to see that balance in scoring. He's even an even 3 and 3 on power play goals and power play assists. He's got 3 game winners on the year. Samuel Larson, Maxim Segelnik, and then you got like Braxton Powers, a former draft pick, Lucas, who we talked about years ago here with the IHC. Now is at birth year 2004. He's taken on a leadership role, 7 goals, 4 assists, 11 points for him. You'll love to see it out of IHC. And the team above the Islanders is the Islanders. At number 2, it's your defending Dineen Cup champion, PAL Junior Islanders, Mike Marcoux. How do you do?
PAL right now on an 8-game win streak. They're just beating everybody, right? Well, they're beating everybody except for the South Shore Kings, who they had a pretty decisive loss against in a game that was just incredible to watch. We'll highlight that in a couple of minutes. But for this PAL side, I think they're one of the best offenses in the league, if not the best offense in the league. I mean, statistically, there is one team above them, but you look at the way that this team is able to work both in space and without space, the variability, right? The way they're able to adapt to different situations. I think for this PAL side, they've obviously got their eyes on a repeat Dunedin Cup championship, and they are certainly well on their way.
Lucas, one of my way too early predictions this season was Ty Broad and Heike Virtanen, both going for 50 plus points and combining for over 110 together. They're on pace to do that right now through 16 games played. 48 points between the two of them, 6 goals, 22 assists for Ty Broad, 10 power play assists for the young man. And then Heike Virtanen, the big guy, 11 and 9, 5 power play goals, 3 power play assists. They're both leading the way for PAL offensively. And you love Coach DeChar's power play. Just watching this guy draw it up, he is an X's and O's monster. He's played the game at a high level. He's coaching the game at a high level. Him and Mike Marcoux together, just two guys who get it. Right hand, left hand, they can just let each other go to work. They battle. They're tough to coach against. This team's tough to play against. That is what you want to hear. You want to hear you're tough to play against. And I just waxed poetic on Frank Murphy. Nicholas Bevilacqua makes the move to PAL into a net-minding room that needed to find its number one again, and they have found it in Bevilacqua. He's 11-1-1-1. He's only been beaten in regulation once. He's got a 9.51 saves percentage, a 1.90 goals against, 2 shutouts, 520 saves on the season so far. He stopped 520 of 547 shots faced. I mean, it doesn't get better than Bevilacqua right now, Lucas.
No, it really doesn't. But one thing I will say is somebody get in front of a puck. Somebody help this young man out. You know, start blocking shots here for PAL. I mean, you love a guy who's that confident, who can make all those saves and stop all those pucks and obviously be a great netminder, but get some bruises, wear it out. I think that's going to be the message I have for these boys.
Remember when I said it doesn't get better than that? Well, the top 3 teams right now have the top 3 netminders, and the top 4 teams have the top 4 netminders. I think Burzgalov is at number 4. I think the 5th team with Michael Poston, I think he's number 5. So I think you're talking about the top 5. What is the story here in the NCDC? We talked about it becoming goaltender U. It is a place that I promise you, if you take a netminder as a Division I school in the NCAA out of the NCDC, they're going to succeed at the next level. It is proven, it is tried and true. The guys who make that move continue to confound and astound at the next level. Ryan Keys, the South Shore Kings, at number 1 in the NCDC for the 2nd consecutive month. Keys, Lucas, he's just 11-0, undefeated, hasn't been beaten yet when he's in the net. 172 goals against, 938 saves percentage, 1 shutout. It's getting to a point where, like, Ryan Keys between the pipes is a rest night when you're playing a 2 or 3 game set against these guys, and you try to catch him on his off day, right? Like when Keys sits down, okay, boys, we got to go get our W. This is our 2-point day. You start to feel like you're just not going to get 2 points when this guy's between the pipes.
And that's a really tough thing to have to walk into a locker room, walk into a rink, and have to look across and see Keys in net, right? And I know PAL has an 8-game win streak. South Shore Kings have a 4-game win streak. South Shore Kings have been dealt a couple of extra losses this month, right? We talked about them. We talked about losses against the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Knights in a shootout, Utica, Twin City Thunder. But that head-to-head win was just such, I think, an indication of where the South Shore Kings are as an offensive unit. They are the best offense statistically in the NCDC right now. Their defense on par with PAL, on par with some of the best defenses in the league. Dan talked about Keys. I just think for South Shore, they are the complete package. They are a scary team to have to play.
Yeah, and you talk about, I think the entire team of the month in the New England division could have been from the South Shore side. Like Keys and net, Cullen Wilson, Nathan Stakowiak, Kotaro Marase, Salvatore Serrato, Jason Zakari, even Thomas Delfarno's had a great month defensively on the blue line. And you look at Stakowiak, he's a 2004 birth year, 10-12. Get this kid now if you're a scout. By March, I'm telling you, you're going to be in a busy sea trying to be the right boat that this young man goes to play for, right? Get him now, NCAA coaches. You want to talk about Salvatore Serrato, same thing, June 10th, 2004 birthday. This guy's got 17 points. He is a creative blue liner, man. This guy gets things done for this South Shore team. I think this is one of the deepest teams South Shore's ever put together. This feels like a championship team, and it just feels like this season is going to run through the boys in Foxborough. And with that, Lucas, I do want to congratulate the voice of the team in Foxborough on his recent nuptials. And yes, I know what that word means, Lucas. Congratulations to Jefferson Mills Absolutely awesome to see that, and just can't believe that our invitation got lost in the mail.
As the designated life of the party, yeah, the 100%. But no, we congratulate Jefferson Mills. We got to work with Jefferson a lot last season at the Deneen Cup, right, at those finals of the 3 games. We interacted with him. We had him on some pre and post game shows. We'd love to continue to work with him and all of our broadcasters more this season. And yeah, congratulations, Jefferson. Put another achievement for you.
Yeah, and you look at right now, we kind of run through these standings in the league. In the Atlantic Division, the PAL Junior Islanders right now have a stranglehold on that division. 28 points for them, a plus 30 goal differential, only bested right now by the South Shore Kings with a plus 35. They've got 28 points in the year, 13-1-1-1. The Wilkes-Barre Scranton Knights at 17 points. The Rockets Hockey Club right behind them, but 2 less games to play on the schedule. They've played 17. Wilkes with 15. They're 1 point behind at 16. Mercer 14. Connecticut 13. Jersey Hitmen in a very unfamiliar last place right now in that Atlantic Division, Lucas. 5-10, 1-0, and 11 points. We talked about it last week. You hit the panic button on this one. You said that, instead of these, you want to see something out of them. Tough spot right now for the Hitmen in the Mountain Division. The Ogden Mustangs with 22 points leading the way. Provo with a game still to play, game in hand, just 2 points back. They win that one. It's all tied up at 22. Pueblo with 17 and 15 games played. The Utah Outliers the game in hand on Pueblo, 15 points in the year, 7-6-0, 1-1, or 0-0-1, sorry. The Idaho Falls Spud Kings, the Potato Zaddies, they were my 11th team, just outside the top 10. 6-6-1-0, 13 points. They're a -6 goal differential. Rock Springs, in their first season in existence, bringing up the rear there in the mountain. In the New England Division, South Shore 27 points, your #1 team in the NCDC. Islanders Hockey Club at 25, Utica with 19, the Junior Bruins, Twin City Thunder, and Northern Cyclones round out that New England Division. Lucas, we get to the end of our power rankings. Do you have anything here for me? I thought you did. I thought you would. Well, guess what? I've got my GMU Sport. Thank you to Jeff Bucky for sending me some great GMU Sport in the mail. Cookies and cream protein powder. This right here, caramel mocha brain blast. It's got that Nutra stuff, the Nutra Prime brain. It's gonna get my brain going. That's why I felt so good today on the show. Yeah, and then we got, what else do we have? A little pre-workout, a little strawberry lemonade pre-workout. Anything you need, they've got it, and it's all NCAA approved. Go to gmusport.com right now. That's gmusport.com. You can still get 22% off. Just go get your stuff. Type in USPHL 22 at checkout and the coupon code in the coupon. You put it in, you got it. You get what I got. I got like $80 off this order. You know what I mean? You can get more off. You can save all the money in the world at gmusport.com right now. Thank you to all of you for watching. When Dan K is on the mic, it's always hockey night. Be sure to weigh in on your thoughts on this month's Power Rankings at @_DanK Show. Give us a follow, Facebook, Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it. Instagram or the Gram, TikTok or the Talk. Go follow us on all platforms at @_DanK Show. Thanks for watching. Power Rankings.